stories of the day. Understand the issues that matter. This is Manila Bulletin News on Web. Your quick rundown of top news in the country and around the world. Manila Bulletin, celebrating 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. Be fully informed. Hi, I'm Barbie Atienza. This is MB Now, and here are your news on web. President Rodrigo Duterte made an appeal during his latest visit in Jolo, Sulu for peace in Mindanao after the twin blast that rocked Jolo and killing 15 people last week. But Duterte insists his willingness to continue the fight and put an end to the war in the island. Our Malacanang correspondent Argil Heducos has this report.
President Duterte appealed to Sulu Governor Sakurutan to help him talk about peace in Mindanao, but said he is willing to continue the fight and put an end to the war in the island. Duterte made the statement following the twin blasts that rocked Jolo, Sulu that killed 15 people last week. In his speech during his visit to the armed forces of the Philippines troops at Tucuta General Teodulfo Bautista headquarters in Jolo, Duterte appealed to TAN to lend a hand in talking about peace in the island.
Impossible dream. It is an unreachable star. But it behooves upon us, tayong mga leader, even to try and even to talk as we wage war. Ako, I do not find anything reprehensible in talking to my enemy across the table and at the same time ordering my soldiers to fight. That's the only way for us to move forward at this time. But I hope that Allah will someday give the light to the minds of everybody.
Duterte said it was really up to leaders to try to bring peace in the country. According to the president, he has no problem with the insurgency's mission for the greater glory of Allah, but said soldiers also have a mission to crush the insurgents.
And the insurgents, ang mission nila is for the greater glory of Allah. Wala man tayong problema. We honor Allah. We pray to Allah. Ako pabigat because of my mixed ascendancy. Same. I've always been answered with a lot of blessings from Allah. So ang hiningi ko lang sa inyo na even as you fight, think about peace.
In his speech, Duterte honored the 8 soldiers and a police officer who died during the blasts that were caused by 2 suicide bombers. He said that the incident will only further strengthen the government's resolve to crush the lawless elements behind the attack. For MB Now, this is Argil Heducos reporting.
President Duterte is expected to announce new guidelines with regards to the quarantine set up later today. And the Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases, or IATF, may recommend to the President to extend the duration of quarantine classification from 15 days to 30 days in a bid to flatten the COVID-19 pandemic curve. Our Malacanang senior correspondent Jeneline Cabiling gives us the full report.
The Interagency Task Force on Emerging Infectious Diseases is mulling to extend the duration of quarantine classifications from 15 days to 1 month. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez revealed in today's public briefing that the IATF may recommend the next quarantine classification be effective until the end of September. Currently, Metro Manila and neighboring provinces are under general community quarantine until today, and that President Duterte is expected to announce new guidelines with regards to the quarantine setup later today. Whether NCR and other provinces retain, loosen up, or get a stricter quarantine classification, IATF will push for its validity for at least 1 month in a bid to flatten the COVID-19 pandemic curve.
Una-una proposal pa ho namin yan. Bahala po ang ating Pangulo mag-confirm po niyan. Para ang pinaka-benefit po nito, of course, mas may stability ho sa ating pagkilos, sa pag-prepare rin ng reopening of the economy. Hindi ho magbabago-bago in 14 or 15 days. May konting stability. And again, kasi ho, kung nag-move na tayo towards yung more community, granular lockdown. So talagang mas yun ang parang kailangan ma-perfect natin, pati nga yung sinasabi nating yung trace, isolate, test and treat. So parang talagang magkaroon lang ng sense of yung stability.
Lopez, however, reminded everyone to practice minimum health standards, as this will most likely be enforced for a longer period of time.
Ang aasahan natin dito, habang nagbubukas yung ekonomiya at bumababa yung yung quarantine clearance, hindi ibig sabihin nito ay magiging pabayanan tayo, ng mga taong bayan, tayo po. Nandyan kahit anong community quarantine clearance, nandyan po yung talagang stricto discipline na pagsunod pa rin dito sa ating mandatory health standard. Yan po yung paulit-ulit natin sinasabi. Habang ginagawa ho yan, para talagang to allow us to move around safely, to allow us to go back to work na hindi ho naghahawahan. Nandyan ho talaga yung talagang lahat ho ng ating mask at face shield. Importante ho yan.
The government has been balancing the needs of the health sector and the business community and believes it has achieved a lot as it aggressively puts in place necessary steps to arrest any chance of COVID-19 case re-emergence in the coming weeks. For MB Now, this is Jen Kabiling reporting.
Lauric acid and its derivatives, which is found in virgin coconut oil, has shown efficacy against SARS-CoV-2, the virus that causes COVID-19. This was observed in the initial results of in vitro studies, which was recently revealed by Department of Science and Technology Secretary Fortunato de la Peña. The initial results of the study showed that monolaurin and lauric acid exhibited a modest antiviral activity against SARS-CoV-2 virus in vitro. De la Peña said that since these compounds are components of food and are generally recognized as safe, these experiments justify further studies on the use of VCO as supportive treatment for COVID-19. DOST has 3 trials involving VCO and will happen in Santa Rosa, Laguna, the Philippine General Hospital, and 1 in Singapore. The study aims to assess the possible benefits of VCO if given to patients with moderate to severe COVID-19.
Merong modest ang tawag doon, modest shall we say reduction noong infectivity noong ating SARS-CoV-2 with the use of lauric acid and monolaurin at dahil po doon kahit na modest lang yung reduction ay it still justifies our experiments in our clinical trials involving VCO against COVID-19 kasi kahit na modest ay pa rin nakaka-reduce pa rin sila ng infectivity.
The voters' registration will resume tomorrow, and that is why Commission on Elections reminds the public of the modified procedure and protocols in light of the COVID-19 situation in the country. COMELEC spokesperson Director James Jimenez said the filing of applications will now be from Tuesdays to Saturdays, including holidays, from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Office of the Election Officer. Before going to the COMELEC office to register as a voter, the public is encouraged to download the application form from its website www.comelec.gov.ph and manually fill it out. However, applicant voters are required to affix their signatures before the election officer at the COMELEC office. Hence, Registrants are also encouraged to bring their own pens as a precautionary measure to minimize the transmission of dreaded novel coronavirus disease. The COMELEC is also imposing the face mask and face shield no entry policy on the day of the filing of registration. Unlike during the pre-pandemic phase, there will be no satellite voter registration at this time. In Metro News, Caloocan converts 2 public school buildings into a 192-bed quarantine facility. Pasay to enforce ordinance on face mask and face shield starting September 1. And Pasig to implement mandatory use of face shields starting this week. More from this report.
2 buildings of a public elementary school were converted into a 192-bed quarantine facility for patients infected with COVID-19 by the Caloocan City government. Mayor Oscar Malapitan inspected the building at Tala Elementary School, which will serve as temporary quarantine and treatment facility. It will also serve as isolation facility for the city residents manifesting COVID-19 symptoms and waiting for the release of their swab results. Malapitan said patients who will be staying at the facility will be monitored by the city's health workers and be provided with free meals, vitamins, and free internet connection. The Pasay City government will strictly implement starting tomorrow, September 1, the city ordinance that calls for the mandatory wearing of face mask, face shield, and other health protocols under the Interagency Task Force for the Management of Emerging Infectious Disease or IATF guidelines. Mayor Emmy Calixto Robiano said the city will deploy deputized apprehending officers, including barangay officials, to help police apprehend violators. Apprehending officers will issue tickets to violators who will pay directly to the treasurer's office within 24 hours. Violators will be detained if they fail to pay the fine. Robiano called on residents not to ignore the city ordinance to avoid the spread of the COVID-19 in the city. Pasig City Mayor Vico Soto is urging residents to wear face shields aside from face masks on public transport, workplaces, and commercial establishments as an added protection from coronavirus disease. Soto said the City Council has recently passed an ordinance imposing mandatory use of face shields. The local government has adopted the guidelines set by IATF, DTI, and DOLE on the use of face shields. In his social media posts, Soto shared photos of city traffic enforcers distributing face shields to drivers of public utility vehicles in Pasig.
Here are the top news in other parts of the country. Tarlac's COVID-19 tally rises to 188. COVID-19 infects 2 vice mayors in Iloilo. And 4 treasure hunters presumed dead after getting trapped in Davao del Norte tunnel. More from this report.
The number of confirmed cases of the coronavirus disease in Tarlac rose on Sunday to 188 with the addition of 7 new infections. The Tarlac COVID-19 Task Force said that all the new cases have a history of contact with infected patients. The province also had 3 new recoveries, bringing to 91 the patients who have won their battle against the disease. Governor Susan Yap reiterated her reminder to Tarlaceños to observe the minimum health standards in order to prevent the spread of the dreaded virus. 2 vice mayors in Iloilo were infected by coronavirus disease as the number of locally transmitted cases continued to surge. Vice Mayors Jeffrey Ganzon of Iloilo City and Almar Marfito of Dumangas Town in Iloilo Province were among the latest who were infected with the COVID-19. Ganzon was admitted at a hospital last August 27 after having a fever and was also coughing and vomiting, while Marfito was one of the 4 local officials of Dumangas Town infected by COVID-19. Last week, COVID-19 also infected 2 officials in neighboring Capiz Province, including Governor Esteban Evan Contreras II and Provincial Top Cop Police Colonel Julio Bustillo Jr. 4 men were trapped in a 96-feet tunnel in Barangay Kinamayan, Santo Tomas, Davao del Norte on Sunday after a portion of the tunnel collapsed. The municipal government of Santo Tomas in Davao del Norte said the individuals were believed to be conducting a treasure hunt when a part of the tunnel collapsed on Sunday morning. And just this morning, the rescue operation has turned into a retrieval operation after rescuers failed to get any sign of life from the 4 alleged treasure hunters. Municipal Information Officer Mark Sambalid said the 4 are presumed dead as they have been buried for almost 24 hours and with water and mud blocking air passage.
In world news, at least 3,200 people evacuate as wildfires ravage southern Spain. Clashes over coronavirus assure a ban in Morocco. And Zimbabwe probes deaths of 12 elephants near Hwange Park. Let's watch this report.
At least 3,200 people are evacuated as wildfires ravaged nearly 10,000 hectares of land in the southwestern Spanish province of Huelva, according to local authorities. The blaze broke out Thursday in the mountains near the town of Almonas del Real, 120 kilometers northwest of the city of Seville. 16 helicopters and 8 planes are helping more than 500 workers tackle the blaze, including firefighters and army emergency personnel who worked around the clock this weekend. The wind dropped overnight, making their task a little easier, but authorities expect the fire will be fueled by strong winds. According to officials, crews were also struggling to reach all affected areas because of the rugged terrain. Clashes erupt between young Moroccans and security forces after the authorities banned the Ashura commemorations in some regions as a preventive measures against the spread of coronavirus. The police arrested around 150 people who burned tires, stone thrown, and alleged acts of vandalism. The unrest also resulted in material damages to property and cars. A heightened security presence is to be expected in the nearby locations in the immediate term. Zimbabwean wildlife authorities are investigating the deaths of 12 elephants last week in the forest north of the country's famed Hwange National Park. 11 carcasses were discovered on Friday and another on Saturday in the Pandamasue, forest tucked between Hwange and Victoria Falls town. The dead animals are young adults aged between 5 and 6 years and juveniles around 18 months old. Neighboring Botswana, home to the world's largest elephant population of around 130,000, lost 300 elephants early this year. They are thought to have succumbed to natural toxins.
In entertainment, K-pop superstars BTS won 4 awards and iconic girl group Blackpink received their first ever trophy at the 2020 MTV Video Music Awards. BTS swept all the categories that they were nominated in and won 4 awards, and these are Best Group, Best K-pop, Best K-pop, and Best Choreography. This is the second straight year that BTS won Best Group and Best K-pop, 2 categories that were added to the VMAs in 2019. Blackpink grabbed the Song for Summer Award for their hit song How You Like That, their first win at the MTV VMAs. After it was announced that Blackpink won, the hashtag Blackpink First VMA trended on Twitter. And in sports, Phil-American sprinter Christina Knott was not supposed to race in the 100-meter race at the Drake Blue Oval meet in Iowa, where she recently broke the 33-year-old national record held by the iconic Lydia De Vega Mercado. Knott said she was only supposed to do the 200 meters, but got a call that said she can both race in the 100 and 200 meters. It turned out that athletes who initially occupied Knott's slot in the 200 meters confirmed the last minute, leaving the 24-year-old without her spot. The 200 meter was her pet event, where she currently holds a national record of 23.01 seconds. Despite these late developments, Knott still went on to give her best performance in her career as she settled for silver behind Kyla White, but shattered De Vega Mercado's long-standing PH and Southeast Asian Games record of 11.28 seconds by timing 11.27. De Vega set the record 8 years before Knott was even born. With this feat, Knott is now focused on qualifying for 2 events for next year's Tokyo Olympics, where the qualifying standard times in the 100 and 200 meters are 11.15 seconds and 22.80 seconds, respectively. For our feature story, Japan's Art Aquarium in Tokyo opens its latest goldfish exhibit, where thousands of colorful creatures splash in art forms. Some 30,000 fish, including koi carp, are on display in everything from traditional fish bowls to columns of water tanks designed by Hidetomo Kimura. The exhibits on display will change depending on the season, and the food and drinks and offer in the museum cafe will also differ depending on the time of the year. Although the exhibit has been running for 14 years, up until now it has only been open during the summer. And those are the news on web today, August 31, 2020. For more news and details, get your copy of the Manila Bulletin newspaper tomorrow or log on to www.mb.com.ph. And you can also subscribe to our newsletter through the link on this video's caption to have the day's latest news delivered to your inbox. I am Barbie Atienza for Manila Bulletin, celebrating its 120 years of timely stories and timeless truths. This has been MB Now. Be fully informed.